Vintage Grixis Breach. What else is there to say but to play it and find out ourselves? Here's the deck list if you want to see it. So this is my first time actually doing a voiceover on MTGO playing, so this will be very interesting. Um, I've been sick, so that's been awesome as well. But this is Grixis Breach, and I did get fifth place in the Vintage Challenge the other day with it. This is a little bit different list. This has the waterlogged teachings in it as opposed to the Lore and Revealed. As you can see, there's a waterlogged teachings in our hand there. Um, I'm not a perfect vintage player, but I like to play vintage because cards are fun. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I didn't even get fifth place with this deck the other day. I got it with shops. I actually think I got like 23rd with this deck. But True Hero, who's the guy who plays this deck the most, he's the one that actually got first place with it, and that's the reason why I played it. I did get a 5-0 with this deck list, though, now that I'm remembering correctly. Um, and yeah. And then I played against True Hero when I was playing this deck, and he was on Waterlogged Teaching, and I was on this, and I was on the Lore and Reveal deck, and he face stomped me into the curb because he's a better vintage player than I am. But nonetheless, here we are, and we're playing this deck. And since I didn't do a deck tech because that would be ridiculous, because I have no idea like how to even go over what a deck tech is. I just mash buttons and put my face on the keyboard and scroll it back and forth and do that. But this dude played a Karn, or this chick, or whoever this person is. They played a Karn, and I attacked it with my Hull Breacher. I didn't play my Lotus out there because I don't want it to get blown up by the Karn, because I plan on killing the Karn next turn. Um, it's going to seem like a big brain play, but I plan on killing the Karn. I actually planned on throwing the Bowmaster at the end of turn, but because they played that thing, the dress down there, I couldn't play my Bowmaster in step. So I had to pyroblast that thing, the dress down in response to their thing, their top. And then they play. I love this play right here. We've all done it before, and it's absolutely fantastic. Play the Vexing Bobble. It's like, yeah, I guess this game's fucking over. So I don't know why I didn't edit this part out where I was taking so long to think about it, because it's not like I could do anything. But they play the Vexing Bobble, and then they play the Ancestral into the Vexing Bobble off the top of their library, and I bet they're like, God damn it. And I feel the same way when I do that. So they immediately sacrifice the Vexing Bobble and draw a card. But it gives me another thing there, another whatchamabobber treasure. So I Vampiric and go get a Tinker, put on top of my deck, and now I'm like, all right, I gotta see if this resolves. Let's hope he doesn't have a Force of Will on top. So we'll attack the Karn first, and then we'll play our Bowmaster in to kill the Karn, and then we could play our Lotus. And kill the Karn, and then that'll unlock our Lotus. And then we can tinker, because we have that nifty treasure left behind from the something or another. Oh, when he Vexing Bobbled. Now we get our own Citadel, and we have a Pyroblast, but we can actually cast that because it's not Red Elemental Blast, so we can just target that. We get to play a land here, and we get a Hull Breacher, so now I have two Hull Breachers. And now we just get to kind of go nuts with our own Citadel here, and we get to Brain Freeze them, and then we get to Time Twister them, which is kind of like a Nombo, but they conceded and then we win. So if you came here for sideboard advice on this deck, best of luck. I just do whatever feels right, and I play more than 60 cards on my deck. So Hunter, I'm sorry, but here you go. Uh, Not all of us can be excellent players. not a big fan of the Vexing Bauble, considering my whole hand revolves around this. So I was wondering if I should pitch the Time Walk or the Waterlogged Teachings. But I decided to pitch the Time Walk here. I mean, the Waterlogged Teaching, because I can at least Time Walk next turn. And then I didn't get punished by drawing a land anyway. So I get to brainstorm, see what I want to do, which is pretty cool. I can get a value breach after my Time Walk. Don't really want the Mana Crypt at the moment. And I do want the Soul Ring, though, because I can just play it. I've already played a land for turn, so there's no reason for me to keep the land, so I'll put that back on top as well. And what that does is it lets me Time Walk, and then I get to draw my land, and then I get to, I think I fetch it away, and then I do a Brainstorm. So I get Underground Sea here. And I do an Underworld Breach, and then I decide to Brainstorm instead of take another Time Walk, because I figured it was better to look at 3 cards than it is to look at just one more, which was my thought process at the time on this. So yeah, we're going to do a Brainstorm, and we get a Dack Fade, and in my head I'm like, oh, we can play the Dack right now, but I didn't get a red mana source, I got a black mana source. So I should have actually probably taken the Mystical, not the Mystical, but the other thing, the Merchant Scroll, and use that to go get an Ancestral and Ancestral myself. But it all seems like it's worked out, because I get to Ancestral myself here, and then I get to look at their hand, which is pretty cool. And then I can play my Dack Faden, and I can pitch these 2. Well, I get to draw 2 cards and decide what I want to pitch, which is kind of nice. And we are going to pitch the Waterlogged Teachings, and then we get to hold up Pyroblast. They only have an island in their hand, so we have perfect information based on this. So we can just play the Flooded Strand and hold up Pyroblast into their turn. And then at that point, the following turn we can play our Bowmaster and start taking up on them if they go Hellbent, which is really nice, because they do go Hellbent. So we get to play a Bowmaster and then just make them basically mill 2 cards, which ends up being pretty good for us. I believe I hit a Karn and something else here. Yeah, Karn and a Mox Jet. Mox Jet, not that big of a deal, but the Karn's really nice to hit. I mean, it's not that we couldn't deal with it, but we didn't really have a way to. But we do have the Pyroblast now for any blue spells that they play. They play a Hurkyl's Recall, not that big of a deal. Artifacts aren't doing anything anyway. So I just take that, and then I get to uptick on them again with a Dack, and basically win the game. So, yep, and there it is. All right, we're in round number 2 here. This is against Dredge. I hate playing against Dredge, but I hate playing against Oath more. But I'm not a big fan of playing against either one of those. So, it is what it is. I go for an Ancestral on myself. It resolves. And now we get to go past turn. So, now we know we're playing 100% against Dredge. But we already knew that because they did the Serum Powder thing. They get to grief me, and they take my Time Twister, which is okay. Because I do have... Oh, this is my favorite. I fucking love drawing Dack Faden against these decks, though. I just wanted to see if I had a Force of Will if I needed it, but because I have a Waterlogged Teachings. But you know, YOLO here. Dack Faden steals the hollow one. Is a Mr. Worldwide steals your girl kind of thing. And then we know we're drawing a Brainstorm next turn, so we go ahead and play our Waterlogged Teaching, and then we get to draw a Brainstorm, and then we can Dack past the 2 Undergrounds that we know are there, and then we can Brainstorm and see what we can pull from there. So yeah, it's gonna be pretty cool. They tapped that. Now they're tapped out, or not tapped out, but now they're whatchamacallit, they're Hellbent. So anything we do next turn, I don't have to worry about like a Force of Will or anything like that. Did hit 2 Narcomoebas and a Creeping Chill though, which is pretty rough. But you know, things be like that sometimes. And then they get the Prize Amalgam trigger. This is hard to edit around because you want to make sure you guys see that stuff, but at the same time, like, it's kind of boring. But I tried to edit as much as I could, so it wasn't that big of a deal. So take 3 there. She got some Silver Smoke Ghouls and some other motherfuckers coming in. So we're going to lose our deck the following turn. But we'll at least get some value out of it here. With the target ourselves, draw the 2 undergrounds. We can actually pitch a Fatal Push and an underground. And then we get to play an extra land here, which is kind of nice. Looks like I'm going for a value breach, I guess. I don't know what I'm doing here. Maybe just another Ancestral? I guess. I don't know. Yeah, I guess I choose Ancestral here. Probably should have edited this a little bit better. This is me just thinking, like, what do I want to do kind of thing. And I guess, I don't know what I'm thinking. I guess I do decide to, wait, what am I doing? Oh, I'm time twistering. Okay. So I just decided to time twister, I guess. Because I might as well. It also gets the dredgers out of their yard, but it also refills their hand to put more dredgers in there. But I think I see my thought process here was like, if I get their dredgers out of their yard kind of thing, then they at least one of the bazaars isn't do shit. Which is probably my thought process here. They get to do this during upkeep, but maybe they don't find what they're looking for. So, but they find exactly what they're looking for. So here you go. There's a whole bunch of fucking dredgers. My deck definitely dies. They attack with the Silver Smolt and the Prize Amalgam's at me, putting me down to 11. I do have a Bowmaster in my hand though, and another Underworld Breach, so I can. But I also have Bolas Citadel next turn too, if I want it. There's a Brain Freeze. I think I choose to. I don't know what I choose to do here. All right, you guys will get to see it in the same time I do, even though I played this. All right, so we're Bowmastering, killing the other Silver Smolt. So that at least takes it as 3 life that's not on me at the moment. I think I go for another value. Okay, good. So yeah, I went for another breach to try and. Oh yeah. Oh, there's a time. Yeah. All right. So yeah, I tried to do the breach so I could time twister, kill all their shit again, and go again. But they forced me. But I do get a time walk here, which is really nice. And then I get to go again. And I get to attack too, which is pretty cool. Attacking's pretty fun. And then we get to hardcast Bolt Citadel, which is also a whole lot of fun. I don't know if you guys have ever done it, but it's a lot of fun. My favorite is hardcasting it on turn 1 with like Mox, land, Lotus, no backup, just slam it, and they're like, well, I guess we got it. It's one of my favorites. So. All right, attacking with the hollow one there, get my hollow one beats in, and now we get to play Citadel, which is really fun. Play top first, that way top Citadel is really good. I'm at 10, so I gotta be careful. Something that's really funny that happened in this match. I was trying to see like what I needed calculator wise. Like I think I bring up my calculator in a second and try and figure out how many more I need times 3 to beat them. So I also do have a Tinker that I can shuffle with as well, but with the top, I definitely get to run through my deck a little bit, 1 life at a time. But they have more than 30 cards in their deck, and I only have 10 life. But I could theoretically, no, I couldn't. I could Tinker for a Lotus, and then go from there. All right, so we're doing this and that. Draw the Force, and then I have Underworld Breach, and then I have Twister. I think they can see it here after this. If they don't, then I get to Twister them, which is really fun. Oh, I get a Time Walk. And then I can Twister them, which I think I do. Yeah, that's what it did. I mean, I guess technically, like I win anyway here, just based off the Twister alone. But the Time Walk ensures that I get there, and then I get to attack and kill them. And I drew another Time Walk as well, which is pretty freaking sweet. So this deck's fucking awesome, man. I really like it. All right, sideboard wise, we're gonna go with some Leyline of the Voids, and then a Braid. I think maybe we'll take the pushes out because they don't kill hollow ones. Yeah, Braid in. I think I bring the Pyroblast in too, just so I can have counter magic. Take out the Force Negation because it's garbage. Take the Braid back out because I don't know what I'm actually doing. And I'm at 61 cards. I don't know what else to take out. So, all right, here we go. This is a pretty decent hand because it does have Leyline of the Void and Brainstorm. But I guess I'm mulligan it. It looks like I'm mulligan it. All right, yeah. All right, so we get to keep a Leyline of the Void here, and then we put back the Breach because we're so far away from actually casting anything. But this is a typical, like, you want to keep this because it's got Leyline and it's going to, turn off their shit for at least half a turn kind of thing. But then they play a hollow one, and that shit happens. And then we get to play a Waterlogged Teachings. And we have a Vampiric Tutor, which is great. For whatever reason, I didn't bring in Tabernacle, which would have been really good. But Hindsight and Catch Up are both 2020. So we have a Force of Will now. So we can at least vamp for an Ancestral. Which they could strip mine me, and that would put me way behind kind of thing. But we vamp. And they could strip mine me like right here because I'm in my upkeep, not my draw step. They do the Noxious Revival thing, which is pretty sweet. To put my vamp back on top of my library so I won't draw whatever I just vamp for. That's a pretty neat play from the Bizarre people. And I'm not doing very well here at this point. Like, I'm staring down 2 hollow ones, and they still haven't strip mined me yet, which is okay. We do draw our Dak Faden here, which is really nice. But both their creatures are tapped, so I can't block. And then they have a Force of Will, which puts me down to 4 life, which even after I take the hollow one, I still die because of the other 4 damage and the other one's tapped. If they didn't have the Force there, I feel like I'm in pretty good shape. Not really, but I'm better than I am right here kind of thing. But if I'm able to steal a hollow one, be at 1 life, and then work through it from there, they kill my Dak, I think, or they attack me. But yeah. So we bring in the Hurkyl's Recall this time, and I think I take out the Pyroblast this time. I was like, yeah, this is new shit. And still at 61 cards, but it's okay. So this is a pretty interesting game to start off with, because in my thought process behind this is like, if they are keeping a 7 kind of thing, that's because they have Bazaar and they're going to mulligan for a Bazaar. So I wasn't originally going to cast the Time Twister, but then I was like, wait a minute, maybe I should cast the Time Twister because they hit mulligan, so we know they have Bazaar, but if I can make them just draw air, that's the way to go. And I have my Force of Will ready. Of course, he didn't have a Force of Will. This, in my opinion, was a huge mistake, in a way, I think, because I shouldn't have played those. I should have just passed the turn and tried to resolve my ley line the following turn, playing those out the following turn. So that really set me back a lot of mana that I had planned on using to to do this, to play the ley line kind of thing. So the nice thing is we find Ancestral, so we get to fetch away what we just saw on top, and Ancestral in their upkeep instead of having, doing it during my turn and getting force negationed. But they have the misstep, I believe. Yes, they do, which is a huge blowout on my part. Kind of sucks. But we continue on, kind of thing. We now have a Bowmaster, so like landing a Bowmaster now would be great. Force negation, force of will doesn't really matter. But if we land it, whenever they do get a Bazaar, we're at least going to get at least a trigger off of it, kind of thing. So we now get to try and play a ley line, and they force a will it. So much gas off of that Time Twister they picked up. Obviously not the gas in terms of the Bazaars, but just rough. And then they grief me the next turn to take my ley line again, and then it's like, God damn it. And then like I draw a Mystical Tutor, and I'm like, all right, cool. We can Mystical Tutor, get a Wheel of Fortune, and end this game. And that's what we try to do here. And of course, like always, they've always got it. Now, this dude's been drawing one card, or chick, or whoever this person is, drawing one card a turn, and literally just counter magic after counter magic after counter magic with Bazaar. We did find a Soul Ring, though, which is great, because now we can hardcast Force Will if we need it. But that's going to get very difficult very quickly from here. So, they tap their Bazaar, now they've got their engine going, so we only get hits if they miss on their dredges. Which they did miss on one, but then they got that. So we're in pretty deep doo-doo here. The only thing that really gets us out of this is a Breach or a Demonic Tutor, because we need to be able to cast it off the top. Now we've got Icarids coming in. I am at 12, so I go to 3. And I've got to figure it out this turn. So I did find the Breach. So, we get the Breach. No Force of Will. So now we can play Wheel of Fortune or Time Twister. I choose to play Wheel of Fortune like a big idiot. And that because Wheel of Fortune lets them dredge. It doesn't shuffle everything in their graveyard. So me doing this just lets them dredge and dredge and dredge and dredge kind of thing. And I wasn't really thinking about it until just a second from now, and then this happens.
Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation.
So I didn't take into account that they're going to dredge when I cast the Wheel of Fortune. Obviously, if I had to cast the Time Twister, everything gets shuffled back into the library, and then I just draw 7, and then I just kill them with the Bowmaster. What I'd like to say here is that I feel like I'm being pretty big brain from this spot. So I'm like, all right, well, I didn't really think that I could get out of this for the most part. And that's when I remember the Creeping Chill goes on the stack after all my stuff does, because of some reason that someone else can probably explain. So I'm actually kind of just salting off right now, which is, my typical MO. I was like, fuck it, I'll just Ancestral Recall them twice since I have the mana open and hit them with the Bowmaster. But I'm still going to die because they're going to be at 1, and I figured, I could just let them go to 1 kind of thing. But what I didn't take into account is that they only had, I think, 5 cards in their library left. So I actually did the correct play, not intentionally. Again, I was just being salty, and Ancestral them twice, making them draw out. So yeah, that was amazing. So on to game number 3, I forgot to start recording. Because I have no idea what I'm doing. But I remember to start recording. I'm playing as Dredge again. Pretty good start here with the turn 1 Tinker because he mulliganed to, or they mulliganed to 2. I get a time walk, and they just give me the game. So now we're going to go into sideboarding. Again, not the greatest sideboarder. I know I just played against this match, so I'm like, all right, well, I know ley lines work, and fatal pushes are pretty medium here. I decided not to bring the Hercules Recalls in. I cut a Pyroblast. I cut 2 Pyroblasts. And I keep 62 cards in the deck because I don't know what I'm supposed to take out. But I know that this is a pretty decent hand, I think, because I have Force Will back up for my Leyline of the Void, plus I have a Bowmaster if I ever get to it, kind of thing. So we get to have them tap the Bazaar. They're going to put everything in the trash can and to the Void, and then it's going to be my turn. They grief me. They take my Force of Will. I figured there was no point in forcing it. And then they play a Hollow One anyway, so fantastic. Draw into the Force of Will, so never punished. And then I get to land my my top. And my top lets me draw into whatever I need the following turn. Actually, I didn't even use it. That's all right. We found a Black Lotus. So what you can see here is I'm like, oh, wait, I think this is a kill with a Force Will backup, which it is because I have the Black Lotus and a land, and then I have the Breach and the Brain Freeze in my hand. So I just pass the turn calmly and just let them do their thing. So they have 3 cards in hand. They force here, then they can't tap Bazaar and try and go again, kind of thing. So I draw my land so I can put more stuff into the graveyard. Any second now, I get to draw my land. I thought I edited this. Oh well. Yeah, so I get my land, get a Volcanic, and then I get to play my Underworld Breach. I opt to not do my Lotus just in case I get Force of Will. And now I get to do my Brain Freeze thing and Brain Freeze myself first to get some cards in the yard. And then they go for a Force of Vigor. And then I get to Force of Will them. And that is basically the match. Because I get to just go nuts here. Alright, we're into round number 4 here. This is against, I believe this is actually a mirror match, if I remember correctly. This seems like a pretty good opener for me with a Mana Crypt. Basically have 2 of the 3 pieces I need for the combo. So it's a pretty decent start for us. We get to brainstorm as well to see if we can piece anything together. Not really too much we get to piece together here, but we do get to put 2 lands back on top, or an Underground and a Crypt on top. And we get to play 2 more Moxes and pass the turn. The nice thing is we get to hold up Misstep for an Ancestral or something along those lines, which they never cast here. But they do play right into, if I were playing Bowmasters, literally walking into a Bowmaster. So it's an interesting start from them that they would want to just walk into a Bowmaster. I mean, I've done it myself plenty of times. But it is what it is. So they do miss a land drop here, which I find pretty interesting. They let my Dak fade and resolve as well. But they definitely thought about it for a second. So I probably shouldn't have been as quick to try and pull the trigger on the combo here, which I even think I was thinking about, like, all right, I need to hold back a turn so I have a counter magic or something along those lines. But I got greedy and decided to shove here and try and make the Breach Brain Freeze work. Which it didn't work, and then I Brain Freeze them. And then they vamp, which I'm assuming they vamp for either Bowmaster or land. I'm thinking it was a land, because they didn't play a land on their turn 2. So I think they vamped for the Saga and already had the Bowmaster in their hand. And I get a little greedy here and just decide to myself play into a Bowmaster. which there it is right there. So they more than likely vamp for the Saga there. And then we're in for a penny, in for a pound. We might as well Time Twister and see if we can dig ourselves back out of this, which we immediately do not get ourselves out of this, and they have a fresh 7. So it's not like it's really going to do anything. So I'll go ahead and concede this match. And then I bring in some Fatal Pushes for their Bowmasters and another Pyroblast, I think. Or Lightning Bolt for the Bowmaster. And I actually pulled the Pyroblast out, even though they're a blue deck. I don't really know why I did that. This seems a little bit better for me. It's a turn 2 Tinker or a turn 3 Demonic. They do bring Leylines in against me, so the Breach is pretty trash at this point. I do get the Demonic Tutor, and I believe I go get Ancestral, that's right. And then I'll play Ancestral on their upkeep, I believe. I have a misstep. Oh, actually, I guess I just play it now, yeah. So, it does resolve, and I get to... Now I have Force of Will for my Tinker, which is really nice. With a blue card to pitch as well, which is fantastic. So I choose to Tinker here. And I could have played an island to play around the Fluster, because I could have paid with the island and then also paid with the Misstep and kept my Force and Dak Faden up. But I didn't play the island because I didn't want to have to not have a land drop when I get the Citadel if this resolves. And point proven there. Is we had to play land. So we do see a probe, which is nice. We know that we got to put 2 back. So we put the Pearl and the probe back. Pearl first and then probe, and that'll draw past the land. That was on top. And now we have a top as well. So we have 13 life to play with. I don't know why he's fetching, and we got the game. All right, so game number 3. Still pretty happy with what my sideboard plan was, which was all the Fatal Pushes and the Lightning Bolt in. And that was not supposed to be a mulligan. I was really happy with that hand, but I hit mulligan for some reason, so I had a brain fart. So it made me a little upset that I mulliganed in that. I don't know how much of a difference it made in this game. But that mulligan was a huge mistake. So. And they've got all the mana in the world here. Hitting 2 of the restricted cards. Well, I also have 2 restricted cards, but they're not as good as his at the moment. The Academy's not that great. In hindsight, I probably should have just played the Saga here, but I think I was playing up against I wanted my Bowmaster in case they drew a bunch of cards. So I should have Bowmastered there in response, kind of thing, to the Citadel, but I didn't. I waited till instep, and then they had the Force Will on top. So sometimes it'd be like that. And then we play the Saga, pass back over to them. They have a Citadel open. I don't have anything going on. So the world's their oyster here in terms of what they find off the top. Hindsight is, they played their Bowmaster. It could have killed my Bowmaster, but they had the Force Will anyway, so it didn't matter. They have the Time Walk here, which makes it even better for them. So we get probed, and then they just go nuts here for the rest of the turn or game. Whatever. That's what Citadels do when they got Citadels. So Vamp into, I believe he gets a Yogg, and then he replays a Lotus, and then he replays a Time Walk, I believe, as well. And he gets to Time Walk, and then basically just kill me kind of thing. So also think he gets to probes me again and then ponders. So he's got all the gas, or they have all the gas, I should say. They have a time walk on their side here, and I actually had stepped away from the computer here in a second. I don't even remember how I lost this. I just know I lost it, obviously, and then I was editing it and saw actually how they beat me, which was the time twister. So I just want to see what I get to draw here, and it's nothing good, and I concede. Welcome to the fifth and final round. I also forgot to start recording on this one as well. You can see what my opening 7 was, though, and I really need this needle to resolve. Not needle, but this top to resolve. So I was willing to force a will it, and then I was also willing to force a will their ancestral as well. Now, granted, I'm down on material on the hand and board, but I have a top that I feel like can kind of draw me out of this. They do have a tutor, which is pretty good. I find an ancestral, so I'm able to kind of take advantage of both, or try to take advantage of both anyway, by ancestrally, and then I get blown out by a daze, which I wasn't even thinking about. That was pretty rough. But yeah, I got dazed. I get a DT for Lotus here to just cast a wheel, just so I can refill my hand. Like, I'm so far behind at this point, I need to refill my hand. They force that as well. And interestingly enough, they actually have a Bowmaster in their hand as well. So if they would have just played the Bowmaster, I'm pretty sure they just won no matter what. I mean, granted, they're keeping pieces off the board, but they could have just played the Bowmaster, let the wheel resolve, and then killed me the following turn with the Bowmaster. So they didn't do that, but don't really draw anything here, which is kind of tough. They get to play a Bauble, they get to play a Lurrus, and they get to replay their Bauble again. Just vintage, doing vintage things. And the game closes out pretty quick after this. So I don't really draw anything again. I find a Brainstorm. I decided I'm going to Brainstorm just to see if I have any way out of this. But I don't. It's all garbage. So concede, and then we'll go into game number 3. Or game number 2, I should say. Bring in the pushes, bring in the bolt, and I'm pretty happy with that. I'm very happy with this hand. I've got a misstep with a Pyro and a Twister. So the misstep doesn't really matter, but if they have a misstep from my Pyro, if they force a will my Twister, I'm pretty insulated, I think. So, and then I decided to go ahead and use all of my off-color mana instead of using my blue. That way I can still cast blue spells if I catch it. But didn't do very well there. Cast the Demonic. I think I go for an Ancestral myself, just so I can insulate myself. And then find a Pyro, and then try and cast a Breacher, which I have a Pyroblast in my hand, but the Breacher doesn't resolve. But we do have 2 Underworld Breaches in our opener here, or not in our opener, but in our hand after the Twister. So we have a lot of value plays we can make in the next turn or 2. We did find a Force of Will, no blue card to pitch to it, but we do have a Pyroblast if we need it for another Force of Will. So I think I Ancestral myself here, just trying to pull myself ahead. Found a Sapphire, and then we can play a Hull Breacher. They have an Ancestral. Now we get to use our Pyroblast. Still no blue card for Force of Will, but we're in pretty good shape and pass the turn. I don't Ancestral myself again because I want to keep my graveyard semi-full, just for the more value breaches that I have. Nice to draw a Force of Will. They did draw that Frog for turn. They are down to 1 card, so we get to kill their Frog, and then we get to Ancestral, or I think I Twister here if I remember correctly, because it makes more sense to Twister because I get a lot more mana. And that puts me in a pretty good position. I have Buku's of mana, a top, a Tinker to go get. Alright, they let me have it there. Happy with my sideboard plan. We're going to go again. I like this. I got the Ancestral, the DAC, the Waterlogged Teaching, Force Will Backup. Pretty good start here. So they do get their bobble, and they have a Wasteland. I don't have any lands though, so it doesn't really matter. I do have the Waterlogged Teaching, which I do play, hoping to flush out their Wasteland. But 9 times out of 10, if they don't have another land to play, they're not going to Wasteland you. So that's always a plus. Upkeep, we're going to do the Ancestral. And now I found another Teaching. We're in pretty good shape here. Oh, with a Tinker backup. Let's go. So we've got the Lotus, and we have Pyro with double force backup for this Tinker. So it's hard to not just jam here. There's the Ancestral. Pyroblast the Ancestral. I think he has a Force of Will here. Yeah, Force Negation. So we get to Force, pitch the Teachings, and we have another Force if we need it. We also have a Breach for a value engine if we need it as well. Find the Mox, find the top, which is always what you want to find when you have the Citadel. Get to draw around that. Fatal Push, garbage. And that's the match. Thanks for watching.